Hi friends, I am going to read you parts of chapter 6 today, and I'm then going to finish up chapter 6 on Monday. And so what I'd like you to do is to read along. If you feel like you don't need to listen to the video and that you can read through it on your own, that's okay. But I know that some of this is hard and some of the words are really hard. They're made up words, they're tricky. So I want to provide a video that you can read along, and I'll stop and talk a little bit about the book. So hopefully this is helpful to you as you're doing your work. So where we left off, the kids got the Tuscaden from the Sand Children and from the Empress, and they are going into the forbidden passages to find the Fazul. And remember, they need to find the Fazul to help their friend Eric get out of the evil prince's body. So chapter 6 is called About a Boy. No sooner had the kids entered the forbidden passages than fierce winds roared about, pelting the Tuscaden's iron hide with sand as hard as frozen rain. So you can stop and picture that, how sandy it is. That sand is pelting it. It's hitting the Tuscaden. Nasty weather in here, said Neil. I wonder if the passages lead somewhere, said Julie. Maybe out to the surface again. Gears groaned and spun and clacked. The Tuscaden thundered down the pass as fast as its iron legs could take it. I hope it knows where to go, said Kia. In fact, the machine seemed to want to go off the pass. The great iron Tuscaden lurched constantly to the left, and sparks flew like fireworks as it scraped the sides of the tunnel. So as I'm picturing the kids in this big machine that looks like an elephant, it wants to keep going off the pass, and it's hitting the sides, and there's sparks flying from it because it's hitting the sides. The night fox growled once, roar, then swatted a paw against the control panel. The machine righted itself, turned, and powered directly off into a side tunnel. So when it righted itself, that means that it got back on the path. So the night fox is the one driving this. Said Hob, almost if that was no accident. Everyone, said Kia, look up here. Julie's heart hammered in her chest when she saw the crude drawings of birds scratched across the ceiling of the cabin. So remember, they're in the Tuscaden and they're looking around and they're seeing drawings. So somebody drew inside of it, kind of like graffiti. She recalled her earlier image of little Spar drawing pictures of birds, and here they were. I'm going to pause. So we know Julie has visions of the past. And this vision is a vision of Spar when he was a kid, and he drew these pictures, so Spar had been in this Tuscaden. I think Spar made those pictures, she said. The night fox grumbled softly and hopped up to Julie, looking out the porthole. Are you serious? Said Neil. Spar? When he was young, said Julie. Don't ask me how. I know, but I think this machine was sort of a toy for him. Hob, slow down, said Kia. There's something blocking the passage. The tunnel ahead had caved in. Giant chunks of rocks and dense mounds of sand were piled from floor to ceiling and wall across the passage. So if it's blocked, that means they can't get through. Everything is blocked by these rocks. Hob, please stop, said Kia. Hob can't stop, cried the imp. He yanked back on the lever, but the Tuscaden kept pressing forward. It slammed into one block and pushed it aside. It struck another. It wants to keep going. It's out of control. The machine struck the tumbled stone and kept stepping forward like a toy with batteries that hits a wall over and over. The gears ground, the mechanical legs squealed, and steam built up until the iron animal shook and quaked. So I'm pausing and I'm picturing this squealing and smoke coming out of this machine, which makes me think it's going to blow up. It's going to explode, cried Hob. Everyone out! The four friends and the night fox jumped from the Tuscaden just as its trunks blasted an enormous cloud of steam. The sand in the tunnel blew up into a storm that showered over the kids. When the dust finally cleared, the Tuscaden stood tilted and motionless. It had wedged itself firmly into the tunnel. Terrific, said Neil. Stuck in the forbidden passage with no ride. Coughing and gasping for air, Hob said, "That toy is not a toy." Look, said Kia. The explosion, so when the Tuscadon started to explode, had dislodged one of the giant blocks, obstructing the passage, creating a slender gap in the rubble. So I'm going to explain that because that's a little tricky. So dislodged means it moved, it loosened. So when they had this explosion, it loosened one of the giant rocks that was obstructing, means blocking. That was blocking the passage. So now they can get through the rubble, so they can keep going on the path. Julie peered into the gap. She saw a glimmer of light far in the distance. What can you see? Said Neil. Shh, she said, holding her hand up. Everyone fell quiet. Closing her eyes and concentrating, Julie heard the sound of something hissing from somewhere beyond the collapsed wall. Uh-oh, Julie backed away. The hissing grew louder. Is what Hob thinks it is? Asked Hob. Neil gulped. If you're thinking what I'm thinking, then I think so.